Hi everyone, welcome again to AuthorStory. I'm Alexander Lim, your host, and on this episode I'm interviewing Jenny Johnston, author of the book Your Past Life Inheritance, Tapping into the Wisdom Within to Create Your Future Now. And for those of you following along who are interested, you can go over now to the Amazon link in the description below the video and check out or get a copy of her book. So Jenny, welcome once again to AuthorStory. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you. Yeah, I was here when I had Tapping into Past Lives, which was a bestseller. So it's good to be back with my second book.
Cool, you're welcome. Yeah, for the benefit of our listeners who aren't aware, we interviewed Jenny last March 2016 for her book, Tapping into Past Lives. So that might have been some time ago, Jenny. For the benefit of our new listeners, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your author story?
So I was an occupational therapist, working with veterans mainly, and also using relaxation therapy. And through life circumstances, I found my mother died suddenly. My husband left me with 3 small children, and after my mother's sudden death, I started looking at spirituality, near-death experiences, past lives, all that sort of thing. And when the universe gave me a back injury, I ended up in hospital having spinal surgery, and having a lot of time off work. And during that time, I was reading again, and my Reiki master came and did some healing on me, and said, "What are you doing while you're lying on your back here?" And I said, "Reading again." And I really want to be a past life regression hypnotherapist. And she said, "Oh, my sister's just done that, just done a hypnotherapy course." So I was led into a hypnotherapy course, which is where I also learned about EFT. And I went on and did the past life regression advanced hypnotherapy as well. And with all the spiritual studies that I was doing, I came across Cryon, Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon. And he talks about mining the Akash, where you go into past lives not only to just heal lives that are still having an effect on you, but to also find the gold in those lifetimes. So the lifetime, where there are amazing experiences and gifts, where there is an ease and a flow and an abundance, where you were a leader, a writer, an advisor, a healer, and bring those back and activate them through the meridian system. So I started combining all of what I'd learned as an EFT trainer. And EFT is tapping on the meridian points. And I started working with guides, higher self, the wisdom of the innate, so the wisdom of the consciousness of the body, and tapping on the meridian points, but looking at ourselves as a soul. So the patterns and the self-sabotage and the fears and the unfinished business that is going on in the background in our current life, we would then start looking at, where did that come from? So that we could release it once and for all. And so that's what I do now. And I guess the first book was me dipping my toes into it. It was the workshops that I was doing, and I've done 2 3-month tours of North America, doing the workshop in 2015 and 16. And I've been running the workshops here since 2012. But what this book is, from the first book, mostly people were saying, "Well, how do you do that?" And of course I had some videos attached to the book of people's sessions. But in this book, it's a much bigger book, and it actually has their sessions word for word. So I've had their sessions transcribed, and people who've given their permission. And so there are quantum EFT sessions that are transcribed word for word. So as you're reading it, you imagine yourself being there in that session with them. And I've also had past life regressions transcribed. So some people have written about their stories, but mostly they're the transcriptions, so that you actually see word for word how this is done. And in the last chapter, there's also a link to the videos from the book. So those who have given permission to have their videos be shown, you can read about it, and then in the last chapter, you can go and actually watch the session.
Okay, interesting. So, Jenny, for the benefit of those of us who are not familiar with some of the subject matter, let's go a little bit into a definition of terms. What is EFT?
So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's actually commonly called tapping around the world. So often when I say, do you know what EFT is to people, they go, is it that tapping thing?
Right.
And, so basically it's acupuncture without the needles. It's the biggest form of energy psychology in the world. It's a relaxation technique. It's a stress management technique. And instead of putting needles into acupuncture points, we tap on them and send a pulse through the meridian system to clear any energy blocks.
Right.
And basically our electromagnetic energy system has blocks when there are emotional blockages or fears or traumas. So what it does is it speaks to that part of the brain that stimulates the fight or flight response. And pumps around adrenaline and cortisol through the sympathetic nervous system. And when we're tapping and tuning into a memory, whether it's in this life or any life, any memory that brings up a stress response, an emotional response, then there is a blockage in our energy system. And so when we're tapping, the brain waves go into the subconscious range. So what I love is, I often call it waking hypnosis. So what I love is consciousness is still present, but we're working with the wisdom of the body, we're working with subconscious, and we're working with guides and higher self. So that's what I love about this technique, is that we're dealing with ourselves in a totality, and we're dealing with who we are as a soul.
Okay, interesting. So another question, another concept, the Akash. What is the Akash?
So the Akash is basically the sum of all of our past lives. So one of the things that I do in the past life regression, so when I run workshops, and I now have a live online workshop where we use Zoom, and that's done over a period of 6 weeks, and we do the past life regression live on Zoom, and it's always in a small group. But one of the things we do is we go to what we call the cave of creation, where all of the crystals are stored, and crystals are a storage device. And we go to the crystal that represents our soul and all of our lifetimes, and then we ask our guides and higher self to take us to the lifetimes that have the most significance for us now, or the lifetimes that have a negative influence on us, that are holding us back from being our highest selves. And so that's the intention of the first regression, and we go to several lives and clear them. But we don't only get there and get the knowledge of it, I take them up into higher learning, so that at a soul level they'll get the higher learning of why that was chosen by that soul, and what's the higher learning and lesson. And then we bring that back down and apply it in the lifetime, and we find that things change and shift, because they then start living their life with that higher learning and knowledge, and they change the lifetimes. And although as humans call our past lives, they're not really, because when you're in that lifetime and focusing on it, and your energy is there and you're in it, and we're shifting things in it, it's actually in the now, and it affects our now when we come back. And so there's some amazing stories also where things have just completely shifted and changed for them when they come back, and they've brought that higher learning and lesson back with them into their current lifetime as well. And often in the higher learning, I also ask them, what's the relevance for this higher learning for the current incarnation, and what's the higher learning for the current incarnation before we come back. And so it's quite profound when they're in that place of higher learning, very amazing, and it takes away that feeling of being a victim, because we're seeing that the soul has chosen all of this for a reason and for a learning and for a lesson. And so it enables us to come out of victim mode and be in creation mode and wonder mode of why did I as a soul create this? What's the learning here for me?
Right. Okay, cool. Now, you referred to a being, Chiron, I believe, and I'm sure...
Cryon.
Cryon. Okay, Cryon.
Yes.
Okay, right. Who is Cryon and the beings associated with them? What are they? How do they relate to us?
So Cryon is a group of energies, and
Okay.
Lee Carroll is the original channel for Cryon. Cryon's here to, he calls himself, although he's not a he is a group of energies.
All right.
But we have to put a gender on it. He's here to help humanity, basically, and to help us find who we really are. So in the second chapter of the book, yes, I have interesting excerpts from Cryon channelings, mostly from the very latest Cryon book, which is book 14. And so Lee Carroll has channeled 14 books from Cryon, and his partner Monica has also written 3 books, the Gaia Effect, the Human Akash, and the New Human, I've forgotten. So these books are basically helping us to remember who we are and how to find who we are as a soul. And they're very uplifting and filled with love. People like Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, they are scientists, and they travel with Lee Carroll often when he's doing channeling, and they back up what Cryon channels with the scientific evidence. So that's what I like about it, is very much what he channels. A lot of what he channels is backed up by scientific evidence. But the main gist, I guess, of the channelings are to empower us as human beings, show us our magnificence and how powerful we are, and to bring us back to that state of love.
Right. All right. Got that. Cool. So, Jenny, this book is, what I find interesting about the book is that, excuse me, there are some amazing, stories within. I acknowledge that past lives isn't part of present everyday conversation. So I have to ask, what kind of people are those whom you work with and describe in your book?
So sometimes when I work with people in just an EFT session, a normal vanilla flavored EFT session, and I suggest when we find a negative pattern and a negative belief, and we're tapping and we say out loud, I release this all the way back to its origin, wherever it may begin. And then sometimes people will get a flash of a past life, and it quite surprises them. And so even people who don't believe in past lives, they can be quite surprised at what comes up for them. And especially because a lot of this work is about intention. And I hold the space and the intention for people to be able to clear this on a soul level. And so the sorts of people that work with me, definitely there's people that read the Cryon work, have been led to. But there are also people from the EFT world who have suddenly found their clients or themselves spontaneously going into a past life, because the energy and consciousness of today allows us to access our past lives much more easily. In fact, Cryon talks about what scientists used to call our junk DNA is actually the multi-dimensional layers of our DNA that hold all of our past lives, and that they are instructing our three-dimensional DNA. So
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, we're just working with what's going on in the background of our DNA. We're working with the multi-dimensional layers. And so that's part of the protocol of EFT, quantum EFT, is that we state out loud, I am a being of light with full free choice. And it's my choice now to process and release this all the way back to its origin, to the first lifetime it began. And I instruct the multi-dimensional layers of my DNA to release and let go of this all the way back to that first lifetime and every lifetime in between. So basically what we're doing is just like a computer, you know, we're defragging it. We're finding outdated programs that are still running in the background that are taking away from our energy and from our ability to have full function. So just like an old program is running in the background on a computer and taking up space, so are these things, and they're taking up space in our multidimensional DNA and affecting us at a subconscious level.
Okay, cool. So I'm sure, Jenny, you've done a lot of regressions, a lot more than the few that are noted in the book. These regressions, are these more or less similar to those that are described in the book? I mean, is the book like a relatively good sampling of what actually happens?
Yes, I don't give the beginning of it, like how I take people down into a past life, into hypnotherapy. I start the transcriptions of where they are in the past life. So, yeah, it's a good sort of sampling. You know, it's a much thicker book. I could have put a lot more in there, but it was also about getting permission from people to be able to put it in. But some of the regressions I've noticed too, more and more with my clients, is especially when they do Transform Your Life program, where they do several sessions with me over time, that they clear their Akash, and then they start mining the Akash more and more, spending more time and getting more information from the in-between state and the masters and the higher learning. And they are also then mining their Akash much more and going to other planetary lives before they were here on this lifetime. So I guess in this book I'm jumping right in the pool and saying, yep, I do woo-woo stuff, but it's actually much more relevant than people think. And you know, I think maybe for the next book I might, I don't know, the name of another book came to mind, which was Time Traveling is Real and It's Affecting Us Now. Okay. Because that's what we do. We time travel when we're doing this work. And just like those shows and Star Trek and some of the fictional movies that we watch, you know, the butterfly effect, when we go back and change something in another lifetime, which is in the now when we're there, it does affect how we are now, just like in the movies Back to the Future. It really does affect what's going on, mainly because we're changing our beliefs and we're bringing forth higher learning.
Okay, cool, I got that. So is there any common thread that comes up in these regressions, Jenny?
Yeah, there's a feeling that we're not alone. There's a feeling of more connection to our guides and higher self. There's a feeling of empowerment. Mostly, I guess my majority of people that come to see me are women who are maybe have gifts as healers or as writers, or you know, they have a gift of some sort, but they're keeping themselves small. They self-sabotage. They have a fear of taking themselves out. And it's this gift that I want, you know, if everyone on the earth who had their gifts were shining them and taking them out for the world to see and not afraid anymore because of past life persecution where they were you know, betrayed or persecuted or tortured or killed for stating their truth and standing in their power. And if I can release all of that and then connect them with their gifts again and feel empowered and know that they're safe in this lifetime, then that's that's what I want to achieve from this book and this work. But the other thing is that I'm taking it even further now by having the live online courses. I've also created a certification program so that it's not just me doing this work, but I'll have certified practitioners, quantum EFT practitioners going out there doing this work, and then eventually I'll have a trainers program so that there'll be other trainers training people to do this program, so that it won't be just up to me. It will be something that the world can access, people can access easily through many different people.
Nice. That's definitely a big game.
It is. And it's like, I'm not going to be around here forever to do this. And so, and of course, the books will be available for all time. However, you want people to be able to learn this in a live sense and to master it. It takes some time to master. And part of the certification program is to do the Transform Your Life program, where you work on yourself and you clear your own stuff and you find your own empowerment before you start taking it out there to other people, so that you're not triggered by their stuff.
Right. Good point. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can maybe you can comment on this question, but what's coming out here is that we human beings, those of us who are alive right now, we seem to come from a place of knowledge and love and connection and generosity, but we can be pretty big jerks towards each other while we're here. Would you have any insight on why that might be so?
Well, again, it's usually fear-based when people feel afraid of being judged or attacked or persecuted or humiliated, all of that sort of stuff. And it actually affects us physically too. So some people will have, I've got a story in this book that just comes to mind, where a lady did my workshop, and a man in another life and was killed, I think guillotined, and the main thing with the guillotine scene was that he could see his son watching him, and the fear and shock on his son's face, like seeing father being killed. And often I will ask people, do you recognize that soul? And in the regression, in the session, was a quantum EFT session, she said, oh my God, it's my son in this lifetime. And burst into tears, and the trauma of that son in that lifetime, seeing his father being killed, right, seeing it. He was born in this lifetime with no eyes.
Okay.
And so we release that trauma so that in future lifetimes he can see again. But we released all the trauma around that, and looked at the gifts in what he brought to her life. And it was a really beautiful. Everyone was in tears when we were doing that session, and that session is actually in the book as well as the video. She's kindly given us the video for that too. And It was a very, very touching session. And there are sessions like that, with a lady and her daughter that both did the workshop together. And her daughter had Lyme disease for 5 years. And when we did the quantum EFT session with her mother, and then we did the one with her daughter, the daughter realized she was the woman who gave birth, who died in the regression that her mother was talking about. And she said, I was the mother in that regression that Mum was just talking about, in that past life. I was the mother who died in childbirth. And we realized that what the Lyme disease was, like the belief that she held in that lifetime was, it's not safe to be away from family. I need to be connected with family. And so we released all that, and the Lyme disease just went. In one session, after 5 years of really, really being incapacitated and trying so many different things, including EFT.
Right.
it disappeared completely. She was tested and all of her symptoms, everything went. There was a huge release, and she no longer has Lyme disease, and that was one session. That's
Nice.
how profound this is.
Wow. Very deep, definitely. So, Jenny, there are a lot of books out there, on past life regression, healing, and the like. What is it about your book that would make someone think of prioritizing getting it over other books in the same genre?
This book is more of a self-help tool. It's very much empowering you to be able to do the work. It shows you how to do it. I have the Quantum EFT protocol in the link on the last chapter. So there's a lot of work that people can do. There's lots and lots of videos. I also have a YouTube channel called EFT Australia, one word. And I have a Quantum EFT playlist there. So I have lots of videos that people can watch and learn for themselves. But especially in this book, it's almost, it's a step-by-step, it's like you're in some of the workshops. So you can learn a lot for yourself. And it's very empowering. But of course, if you've got some big things that you need to go to, you need to do that with supervision and with a certified practitioner, and that's why I also offer the Transform Your Life program. But basically it gives you an idea of, a lot of people have read things and go, oh, maybe that's why I self-sabotage, or maybe that's why I can't get ahead, and maybe that's why I'm this way. I see myself in these stories.
Okay, I got that. Cool. So Jenny, let me pose a theoretical question to you. Let's say you met up with someone who is trapped in a space of unhappiness, isn't happy with his life, or gets sick often, stuff like that, and you had only enough time to tell this person one thing about how to heal themselves or how to change themselves. What would be that one thing you'd tell that person? Why would you say that?
Well, I wouldn't tell them anything. I'd get them tapping straight away, and we'd do quantum EFT straight away.
Okay.
I would say we need to see, where does this come from? We need to tap in to the wisdom of your guides, your higher self, your soul, and your body, and find out why it's there, because it's there for a reason.
Right. Okay, got that.
It's there to teach you something, and it could be related to past lives. It could be related. What I see is that the things that are there for us, that we're struggling with in this lifetime, they wouldn't be there if we hadn't have already stepped through them in other lifetimes. So they've been re-triggered because we haven't stepped through that lesson yet. So it's like, well, here's that lesson again, you haven't completed it yet. So it's there for a reason, and we need to find out its origins and where it's come from, and to release it, and why it's there. It's often there protecting us in some way. And so one of the first things we do is we thank the body for remembering it and holding on to it to protect us in some way, but it no longer serves us. It no longer serves me and my highest good, and I choose to release it.
Okay.
And so we acknowledge it, we recognize it, we thank it for protecting us, and we look at where it comes from and what is it protecting us from. How is it keeping us safe?
All right. Okay, got that. So Jenny, the book is going to be launched in September 2017. Is there any more information you'd like to give about the book and its subject matter?
Yes, so the book launch on September the 2nd, I have many amazing friends who have actually given me beautiful gifts and bonuses. And so when you purchase the book on September 2nd, there is a page that I have which is called quantumeft.com.au/your past life inheritance. Now each word, your -past -life -inheritance, each word is hyphened. Now in that link there is a list of all the bonuses. So Alina Frank, who's an amazing EFT trainer, she has a webinar, Guaranteed Pathways to Success in Your EFT Business. We have Annabelle Fisher, an amazing EFT trainer, The Healing Game, Transforming Chronic Illness with EFT, as an ebook that she's giving away, as well as videos. What Your Doctors Are Not Telling You About, Chronic Pain ebook by Barbara Semple. Tapping into Abundance, the Tally Seminar by Brad Yates. 8 Colors of Prosperity, The Ultimate Guide to Turn Your Debt Devils into Love Angels, which is a book, signed book by Moira Bush, and all you do is pay for the delivery. 3 Steps to Falling in Love with Yourself, an ebook with Naomi Johnston. Intimacy, Boundaries and Missing Links, a download from Benny Nodeer. And then there's also discounts off my programs, the first 3 chapters of my first book, free videos of the North American tours, a free 15-minute appointment with me, $100 off Transform Your Life program, things like that, as well as the button for buying Kindle or print on Amazon, and then you fill out a form on that page with your name, email, Amazon order number, and press submit, and you get all those bonuses.
Nice.
And that's only available for people on September the 2nd, wherever they are in the world. So yeah, that's what I'm giving out to people, and I'm also giving them an extra bonus if they review the book on Amazon and email me their review. I will send them then a recording of mining the Akash past life regression that they can practice too in their own home.
Oh, nice. Those are quite a few. Those sound some pretty good bonuses right there.
Yeah. So there's also already some reviews up there on Amazon,
right?
And some of the reviews from the book, and yeah, it's a bigger book to read. It looks big, however, with the transcripts there, it takes up more space, I guess, with people's names and all the spaces in between. You tend to be able to read the transcripts fairly quickly because they're pretty exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Okay then, so wish we could talk more, but our time's run out. So in closing then, the book is Your Past Life Inheritance, Tapping into the Wisdom Within to Create Your Future Now. The author is our guest, Jenny Johnston, and you can find her book on Amazon as well as on her website, quantumeft.com.au. So Jenny, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being Author Story. It was very insightful having you with us here today.
Thanks for having me again.
You're welcome. So if any of you listeners want to know more about this topic, please feel free to go ahead and check out Your Past Life Inheritance, which you can do so right now by going to the Amazon link in the description below the video. And if you'd like to follow our author interviews on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. So bye for now, everyone. I'll be back on Author Story Weekly Interviews with another inspiring author.